it's a weird dynamic to have two directors, but it's only weird if you set it up that way. If you set it up from the beginning that this is what we're doing, everyone goes along, and that's exactly what happened. And so we would literally have conversation in the middle of a shot, in the middle of a scene, and say, well, what do you think about that? How about if we do, oh yeah, that's good, let's do that. And we'd bounce it off of each other. Whereas so often, the director, like the captain of a ship, is on his own, his or her own. And they don't have that luxury. I think it made the whole experience a lot more comfortable and better for all of us. I'm just really happy with how it turned out. I mean, we're still talking to each other.
Yeah.
We're still friends.
Albert and Brian, particularly as directors, were like an old married couple. It was very interesting to work with them. It felt like they had been married for 40 years, and they were kind of like either ready to call it the quits or go to the next honeymoon. And Brian were very, very passionate about the project, and I loved that. I love to work with people that have a lot of passion for what they do and have a lot of spark. Brian and Albert were definitely on point.
Okay.
Speaking to the crew that we had, it was just amazing how many of them had experienced, mental illness in some form or another, whether it was an experience they had themselves or through a family member.
I'm actually dealing with a personal mental health issue thing now. My grandmother she has Alzheimer's. And in a lot of ways, that whole Morris thing where people were trying to talk to him like he was the person he was before, and he's not there anymore. It was about 2 weeks ago. I always call her, or she calls me, and I was talking to her on the phone, and she didn't recognize my voice. And that was heartbreaking.
It's very upsetting just to see how many people are affected by something like this. And I think, again, one of the reasons why people worked above and beyond for us was because they believed in this boy's story and they wanted to tell it. And I had a lot of people say that to me, and it's always really nice to know that people aren't just working for you, they're working with you. I was moved by Robert. I love every scene that he is in.
The crew would be watching a scene and you would see them tearing up,
The work that Robert does as the older brother is just beautiful, and he and Aiden working together, I really enjoyed that.
He comes in and he's so excited, and here's his brother, he can't talk to him. And he can't tell him, I'm proud of you. And I know that feeling of coming home and you just had a good game and you want to share it with somebody. And I think I connected with that right away. And I kind of saw myself in David.
I'm Ryan DeLuca. I played the role of Adam in the film, which was David's best friend. My overall experience was getting on set and meeting Alex, and then all of a sudden, the friendship connection was there. I just remember when I was starting to date and I would try to introduce my friends to girls, and I swear they would on purpose blow it. They would just go out of their way to make it the most uncomfortable experience for me, and so it was nice to be able to return that favor.
Well, the run on the beach is really hysterical. Then, did you plan to fall?
I planned to push him. He's faster than I thought, and I went to push him and I missed.
Yeah.
And then I just went and I was like, okay, I'm gonna hit the dirt.
For me, you were really special because when you came on, I was a bit down. I had a fundraiser who did not bring in any money.
Yes.
And I was looking for funds.
Yes,
And as I remember, you said, come on, let's do it.
I did. I don't know if it was me just being eager about just being out of college and I had all this energy and just wanting to put it into it. From the get-go, I would love to do everything I can to help make this film happen. if this film could just become a reality, I think it would just be so wonderful and so important. So about 1.5 years ago, I read the script, and I was still in college at NYU, and really wanted to help to work on it. After I graduated from college, I went and I saw Albert and I said, can I get involved? I think the most important thing for me was that I really saw something in the script and I thought it was really special. It talks about mental illness, but it's about life, and it's about hope and laughter, and there's so many uplifting moments in the film. So it kind of was a holistic, realistic picture of life, which I really loved. I remember so clearly that you said to me, well, let's just start to cast it and see what happens.
Exactly.
But in my head, I was like, well, if we're gonna cast it, I mean, we might as well make it. But I felt that really jump-started everything, is that we just like found these really good actors that were like, they are going to take this movie and they're gonna breathe so much life into it.
Hi, I'm Mara Casson. I played Vivian, and I actually did the reading 5 years ago, and then we shot some scenes, which were wonderful, and then like 4 or 5 years later, you asked me to audition Albert, and I came in. It was the best. You don't always get a role like this. She's layered and interesting and special, and there's nothing, like I've never read a role like this before, and I don't think they come along all the time for actresses. So when I got to read it, there's so much to her that it was even great to play her years ago, and then you get to read it again and do it again, and you discover things because there's a lot to her. She's not just one thing, she's many things. And I knew it was special to you, so that added, not pressure, but a certain level of wanting to get it right.
We kind of worked together kind of silently.
Well,
I don't know if you felt that.
Well, I think I understood when it was right. I think, and honestly, you were moved by certain things. So if you're moved by something, you can't always vocalize why that was right. But if you were moved by it, and if it was right, then it was right. Like if you're playing someone who was important to you and was real, then I think it's hard to put words on it, and it is like a feeling. Like I think I knew when it was right, without you saying anything, because you were affected by it.
Yeah.
The funny thing about Vivian is that every scene, like 75% of her scenes were big, intense. There weren't many scenes where it's just like, have a good day, Ma, see you later. Like, everything was like loaded with something, like good or bad. And you know what I realized? The first week when she was more manic, I guess, we shot those scenes where she was like more fun and like having a good time. I felt great. And then the second half, when we shot her heavier scenes, you don't love me.
What?
Nothing, I'm going to sleep. I felt horrible. It was a lot to be Vivian. It was like, because it was so much fun the first week, and the second week was really draining and hard. So every scene I remember well, even the simple scenes that, you know, the scene where I come back drunk from the plane and I just go into David's room and I talk for a second. I remember that because that was one of the easier, like Vivian was just being a sister. It was like simple. Because all the other scenes were intense, and I remember them all for different reasons. Like the scene with Morris will always be one of my favorites because I only get so little time with that character, but I feel like that's a movie in itself, like Vivian and Morris.
My name's Rabia Sultana. I'm the producer on Extra Innings. No, but when I'd read this script, it was very heartwarming and it was definitely very relatable. So I thought it was, you know, from the get-go, it was a project that I knew I wanted to sink my teeth in. It's like my first interview with you, and I had asked you how much prep time we were going to have, or when you ideally wanted to shoot. And when you said a month away, there was a voice at the back of my head saying it's almost like this is impossible. Because to prep a feature in just shy of a month is obviously really difficult, and you know we're a very small production team, But I don't know, there was something about how you were speaking about it, and then you told me that if I don't make this film now, I'm not gonna make it. And I was like, okay. In that moment, I think I wasn't thinking as a producer, I wasn't thinking as a creative, I just wanted you to be able to tell your story, and I wanted to be a part of that because it's something that I relate to.
I'm from Trinidad and Tobago. It's right off the coast of Venezuela, not much people know. So small island to big city. It was a huge culture shock. Yeah, I came from a country where everyone's laid back, but I had a bigger dream, so I made the move. It was really tough. It was one of the most tough films I've ever worked on, but the most rewarding at the same time. I think it's the first feature film that I produced. Pre-production, we had 3 weeks to get everything done for a 22-day shoot. So we had less time to prep for it than we actually had to film it, which can be really difficult. Filming days were very long. There was one day at the house when it was pouring rain, it was nighttime. Everyone had already been working for 14 hours. We still had another shoot to do outside in the rain. That was the most challenging, keeping the traffic, the foot traffic, everybody out, and also keeping the actors calm and in their zone. But it actually turned out to be the most beautiful shots on set, so.
And as often happens with even big budget movies, but particularly with smaller budget films, you know, you fall behind, locations fall out, all kinds of problems. I remember it was a particularly stressful day. There was a lot going on, and the preparation of the dinner scenes was complicated. The cinematographer, Luigi, was upstairs, you know, working to light it. So it took time, and everybody was a little stressed out, and so yes, I made a choice to bring everybody outside and sit us down in the, you know, in the formation they'd be sitting at the dinner table, and I led them through a relaxation exercise, some breathing work, and you know, just focusing in on their character, a little bit of thought about what it is they want going into the scene, and creating the scene. It really made a difference when we went upstairs and we started to shoot, and everybody was in just a very relaxed mood, a very playful mood, and you see it. You see it in the film. You see it in those scenes. There's a lot of improvisation going on within the script in those scenes. I think we really captured that family dynamic, and each one had its own energy to it. And I think we got a good result out of it. So. Our cinematographer, Luigi, came up with some great ideas and beautiful movements. And this one particular scene, he just put the camera on his shoulder, and it's kind of a 60s, you know, trippy, psychedelic kind of scene. And we put on some music to give it the feel. And I remember we put on some Doors music, and they were dancing. And Luigi was just moving around them without having choreographed this at all. But he seamlessly flowed through them. And I remember all of us on the monitor. We only had one take. And we were on the monitor and just watching this movement, this choreography unfold. And I just knew, watching it, that was it. I mean, it was happening right in front of us. And you know, even though it's a little monitor, a little screen, you just see the beauty of this scene coming alive. So that, I remember that really well. I remember there's a scene in the movie where we have to go up on a high hill, and Mara, the woman who plays the older sister, turns out she was afraid of heights. And it's her scene, and we literally I had to hold her hand as we got into place, and it was a juggling act to get her to do the action that was involved in the scene. When we weren't shooting, she literally had to go and sit down on the ground because of the height. She was terrified. Yeah, but she did it, and it's a beautiful moment in the movie. It's a beautiful scene.
I think it was our first beach day, and it was definitely, for me, it's like every day go to the beach is great, because I'm from Arizona. We don't get to go to the beach. The fact that we got to shoot on a beach was a great day for me no matter what. And we get there, and that's funny, because Christine was there, and she was playing an extra. Right. So I got to gawk at my own girlfriend, and I got to do it worry-free, and I had a blast. It was like, and it's great. I was a 16-year-old kid again. I was like a kid looking at girls, thinking about a one-track mind, and then getting to run on a beach and play in sand. I'd come from a softball practice, so I was stoked. I was like, I get to come from practice, get to come and audition about a movie about baseball. And I remember coming in, and I talked to you because I was chatting. You were like, what do you have there? And I was like, I have my glove. And you were like, what? And I was like, yeah, it's a movie about Jews in baseball. I'm bringing my glove. Let's do this. And we had a blast. And there was this one, I don't remember her name, but this one beautiful lady, and she sees me outside, and she walks in, and she goes, you look nervous. Don't be nervous. And I was like, whoa, all right. And then I just had to click into next gear, and I grabbed my mitt, and I was like, let's not be nervous.
How did I get involved with extra innings? Albert, our director, he came to see me in a play of The Motherfucker with the Hat. And after the play, you came up to me and you said, I have this script, you might be right for the role. And when I read it, I'm like, how did he see me for, because Cousin Julio, who I was playing in Motherfucker, is so, he's such a different character from Morris, but, I don't know. There was something you saw there, and then I came in, and for some reason in that audition, when she started talking to me and I couldn't talk back, there was something that connected deeply with me and Morris. And one of the things in the audition is that I almost saw myself, and I know that feeling of coming home and you just had a good game and you want to share it with somebody. For me, it was my dad most of the time. I really connected with my dad through baseball. In that scene you wrote, which you wrote so beautifully, he comes in and he's so excited, and here's his brother, he can't talk to him. And he can't tell him, I'm proud of you. And I didn't, and I think I connected with that right away. And I kind of saw myself in David. And I think Morris might as well, in some aspects. He sees himself when he was younger, and that was a big connection for me in the script. Especially the scenes I had were two people trying to connect and not being able to fully express themselves to each other. And I think that the film has a lot of that. There's a lot of people that are misunderstanding each other, even with the parents and the kids. It's like they're just not listening and they're not understanding.
And then you had several roles in the film yourself.
Yes.
What was that like? So you really played a lot of roles.
I did. It was fun. Whenever we needed somebody, or maybe it would be last minute, oh no, we need an extra in the scene. We didn't think about it beforehand, or Brian would say something like, oh, we need an extra in the scene. It's like, oh, well, all right, I'll get dressed. I'll put on whatever we gotta do to kind of just go and make this happen. I was just willing to do whatever it took.
Albert and Brian were very, very passionate about the project, and I loved that. I love to work with people that have a lot of passion for what they do and have a lot of spark. Brian and Albert were definitely on point.
I think, again, one of the reasons why people worked above and beyond for us was because they believed in this boy's story and they wanted to tell it. And I had a lot of people say that to me, and it's always really nice to know that people aren't just working for you, they're working with you.
And I knew it was special to you, so that added, not pressure, but a certain level of wanting to get it right.
And you see it in the film, you see it in those scenes. And I think we got a good result out of it, so. It's a weird dynamic to have two directors, but it's only weird if you set it up that way. If you set it up from the beginning that this is what we're doing, everyone goes along. It really made a difference when we started to shoot and everybody was in just a very relaxed mood, a very playful mood, and you see it in the film, and I think we got a good result out of it, so.